Welcome everybody, my name is Scott Hebbard from Spark Systems, and today's webinar is entitled Working with QEA Files in Enterprise Architect 16. In response to customer feedback, Enterprise Architect 16 is now available in both the 32 and 64-bit version. And to help manage any future challenges organisations may face with modelling their enterprise. So we're really excited to be able to bring a 64-bit version of Enterprise Architect to enterprises. So thank you for joining us today. So we're excited to showcase some of the new technology and capability within Enterprise Architect 16, including support for 64-bit and the new standard file-based repository built on the proven, secure and open source SQLite database. So join us as we step through some key issues that users will undertake with QEA files. And we're going to start with a simple demonstration of what happens when you open an EAP file using the 64-bit version of Enterprise Architect. So on screen, you can see that we have an Enterprise Architect file called shuttlelaunch.eap. Now this EAP file was a model that was used from previous webinars that examined requirements and use cases via the example of a shuttle launch. It helped to demonstrate concepts such as requirements traceability, model-driven development, and structured scenario development. Now, upon launching the 64-bit version of Enterprise Architect, when we try to open this EAP file, we are immediately faced with a dialog box that indicates that the 64-bit version of Enterprise Architect does not support EAP files. The dialog then offers customers a simple and convenient approach to convert a legacy EAP file to a number of different file formats, including QEA, QEAX, FEAP, and EAPX. Now, if all of that sounds like acronym spaghetti soup, then this webinar will help explain what QEA files are, how they might be used, why we've moved to a 64-bit repository, and tell you a little bit about this new standard file-based repository in Enterprise Architect. So the conversion process is quite simple and straightforward, with the details of the conversion appearing in the system output window. Once complete, you can open the QEA file and continue using Enterprise Architect as you have always done in the past. So on screen, you'll see various requirement diagrams and use cases that I've used in previous webinars. So QEA is the way that we'll be using Enterprise Architect moving forward. Now, if you look at the two files on the desktop, you'll note that the conversion process is non-destructive and creates a brand new QEA file that you're able to use. So no need to worry about losing the older EAP file, which you may still wish to use on legacy systems. And you can now future-proof your models to support 64-bit. So we're going to look at working with QEA files in Enterprise Architect 16 and talk about what they are and how they're going to benefit your organizations. So in a brief overview, we're going to talk about what are QEA files, and we're going to talk about the benefits of using a QEA repository, such as speed, efficiency, larger reports, diagrams, and simulations. We're going to compare and contrast with the older EAP and EAPX files and talk about some of the reasons why we've moved to this new format. And we will also look at replication and QEA replication. So what are QEA and QEAX files? Well, the QEAX mini repository is built on the proven, secure and open source SQLite database. And moving forward, QEA will be the recommended file-based format for all Enterprise Architect 16. It's really easy to set up and to use, and it's got improved general performance. So there are lots of things that make it more powerful and quicker. Now, we've talked about QEA and QEAX, and what's the difference? Well, QEA files are the fast personal-based file, and QEAX files support shared files with small work groups. So if you've got a team of 5 or 6 people, you'll use a QEAX file. Now, one of the reasons that we're moving forward is that EAP files were based on a Microsoft JET database, and the JET database engine is only available in a 32-bit configuration. Joint Engine Technology databases were developed back in 1992 and are closely linked with Access and Microsoft, and there are much better open source databases that support 64-bit that are currently available. And so that's why we're moving to these new databases. So this is going to produce lots and lots of benefits, including supporting larger databases, more efficient databases, and it will allow you to have larger reports, larger diagrams, larger simulations, and larger addressing capability. So the 64-bit version of Enterprise Architect release 16 and above will not be able to open your EAP and EAPX files, but as I've demonstrated, it's very, very easy to convert those. And so all you need to do is to transfer the contents to another file that the 64-bit version can access. Now, what you have is a project transfer dialog, such as one on screen, and you can see that you just set the source and target project and hit transfer. Once again, some of the benefits of using 64 technology include high performance, greater compatibility across different operating systems, have increased memory capability, and it really is the best way to future-proof your projects, as most operating systems gradually all move to 64-bit. In order to access the project transfer menu, you can simply use the settings menu, and you can transfer to QEA or QEAX. And it is also possible to complete legacy transfers if you have a QEA file and you want people that are using EA14 or 13 that want to be able to access that file, you have that capability as well. So once again, some of the key benefits, it's an out-of-the-box repository. So it comes with EA, it's lightweight, it's serverless, it supports basic replication. So it's supported for offline development, and QEAX supports basic file sharing for small work groups. So a lot of the features around using chat and real-time chat and sending small files, you can do all of that within Enterprise Architect 16. And Enterprise Architect 16 obviously has a number of new collaboration features, which I've mentioned in a previous webinar, that are available to access. So I would encourage you to download Enterprise Architect 16. So on screen we have an airport example, and this is another model that I've used previously in webinars that helps to show strategy and requirements and traceability and a range of other features, but it's really good for showing collaboration because it's got users set up. So from the settings menu, I simply select transfer, and I go down and I say EAP to QEA transfer. I select my source project, I then set the target, and the progress is displayed underneath. So I'm going to select my airport example, and I am going to select my target file name, and so I'm just going to call it my first QEAX conversion. From the drop-down list, I'm going to select QEAX because I know that this particular project has users, and I want to be able to support that small workgroup capability. I click yes, and this is a demonstration that the output appears down in the system output window, and it just took a few seconds. Now, it's not a huge file, but the conversion process is relatively easy to do. It's quick, and you can access that from within Enterprise Architect. I'm now going to open the file and jump in using my credentials. And so now here within Enterprise Architect, we have our strategic outcomes. We have our strategies, our initiatives, our airport ecosystem, the digital airport transformation, and everything else that we've developed in Enterprise Architect. But now we are opening this using a 64-bit version of Enterprise Architect. Now, what are the benefits of replication? Well, first off, it allows you to prevent data loss. It provides improved data reliability and availability, allows disparate teams to work on the same database, can help you reduce latency, and it can especially help end users. It helps to mitigate issues around hardware failure and network latency issues. And of course, one of the reasons that replication is beneficial is it's really great for disaster recovery and data protection. So if one particular database has a problem due to a hardware failure, then you have copies of that database and the system can continue on. So that's quite helpful and quite beneficial. So with Enterprise Architect 16, it supports replication both for the older files such as EAP, but the new QEA files support QEA replication. And I'm going to do a demonstration of how it works in a moment. But replication is a useful method of sharing projects between isolated or mobile users. So it allows users or groups to work independently, and then they can merge their changes to a centralized master repository. The file-based repository is converted to a design master, and then replicas are made of the design master. And design masters in QEA, you simply create a master repository, and that's the first step in creating Enterprise Architect's replication process. This process converts QEA repository into a master repository. This master repository provides a base for then creating your QEA replicas, and replicas can then be modified. So here on screen, you have a dialog box that shows you how to synchronize your replicas. So up the top, you can see the all the diagrams and the objects and the elements that have changed. Now you can resolve all using the changes that are found in the master, or you can resolve all using the changes that are found in the replica, or alternatively, you can go down on a case-by-case basis and decide which one you would like to select. So the synchronization process is relatively easy, and you can see that there's details such as the alias and the value, and you can compare the values and you can compare the modification dates, so you know when changes were made and what those changes were, which allows you to take the information from your replica and merge it back in. Now, obviously with Pro Cloud Server, all of the replication and all of that management is taken care of, but there are some customers that like to have replication supported in their databases. So you can resolve synchronization conflicts, as I mentioned, resolving all to the master or resolving all to the replica, or you can resolve on a record by record basis or even by individual fields if you so care. And all of the updates appear in the system output window. So you can see updated 3 entries in master, deleted 0 entries, etc. So now we're going to just have a quick demonstration to show you what the QEA replication looks like, how it works. And once again, it's really simple, easy process, and is all supported out of the box with Enterprise Architect 16. So you can see you've got your settings window once again, you select transfer once again, and all of the replication is grouped together. So under QEA replication, the first thing you need to do is create your design master. So we've now created our design master. And then you go down, and from the replication submenu, you can create a new replica. So I'm going to create my replica, and I'm giving the name replica airport model and hitting save. So now I have my replica, and changes can be made to that independently, and then we can synchronize those changes. So I'm going to open up the replica, and then Enterprise Architect 16 has introduced a number of changes to the start page as well, which is worth checking out. So I'm logging into my database, and I'm going to simply right click and use the model wizard in order to add a new package with a diagram on scriptlets. And I think the scriptlets are another great Enterprise Architect 16 feature that's been introduced with the product that I would recommend that everybody has a look at. So you can see there's a package there called Simple, and there's a simple scriptlet example that has now been added to our model repository under the replica. And I can add a note, just putting some details down here. And all of this is going to be saved in our replica. Now, in the real world, there might be many changes and many replicas, and then that'd be synchronized back. So how do we do the synchronization? Well, we go back to the design master, and from the design master, we then conduct the synchronization. Once again, it's available from the settings menu, and we go down to transfer. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Enterprise Architect. I'm going to open our project, and once again, it's just our local MyFirst QAA conversion. I'm going to log in using the credentials that were provided, and at the moment, there is no scriptlet example here, but if I go synchronization, then I can sync with the replica, and you can see that there's a file change, and I can synchronize those changes. And so I will select the replica values, and away I go. And now that the synchronization is complete, if I go down and have a look under model strategy, there's the package, and it has been imported into our model. So Enterprise Architect 16 supports QAA replication, and as you can see, it's fairly straightforward, and the dialog allows you to synchronize, and if there's any conflicts, you can make the decision about which entry you accept, and then of course you can open that diagram and see all of that information is now available in our design master. So so far in this webinar, we have looked at a number of different features. And the next thing we're going to look at is native connection. So native connection within Enterprise Architect 16 is really powerful. The Open Server Connection dialog helps you to define a new connection. And using the native connection, there's no need to install any ODBC drivers or any additional drivers. It's all done for you. So we're going to have a quick look at a demonstration that shows how the new native connection dialog box works. And you can see that you can connect to MySQL, SQL, or MariaDB using the new database. In this particular example, we're just going to have a look at MariaDB database, and we're going to look at MS SQL, and then we're going to use Pro Cloud Server and show you how you might go about connecting to a Maria database and a Firebird database, which is your FEAP files, using Enterprise Architect. So all you need to do is click on Server Connection and provide a description, and you can see that there are a number of DBMSs available, including Firebird, MariaDB, MySQL, Oracle, and a couple of others. So you add the server name, database name, your database credentials, you test the connection, click OK, and then you can jump into the connection. So it makes it much easier to connect to a database without having to configure ODBC drivers. It's streamlined, it's faster, and it makes life much easier for creating those connections. So this time we're doing Microsoft SQL Server. You can see there's two checkboxes there, one for OLEDB and the other for ODBC drivers, and you can simply select which one you want. Once again, server name, database name, your credentials, test, and then you use the username, password for the repository itself, and you can connect to those databases. And finally, you can do the same thing using the ProCloud server. So in this example, we're going to open up the ProCloud server client, and we're going to log into the ProCloud server. We're going to click add and use the database manager. And once again, there are a number of different options there. I'm going to select MariaDB, and we're going to give it a alias, server name, database name, and the relevant credentials with an appropriate port number. Test the database, and you can see it's now there. Now, the only difference is that we have to open it and we have to enable it so that it can be viewed via the ProCloud server. So now we can hook up to our cloud connection, give it a name. This one happens to just be running on localhost. Once again, use the repository credentials to jump in, and we've now connected to our cloud connection that's based on a MariaDB. So it's really, really easy once you do it. This time we're doing exactly the same thing, but we're using a Firebird database, and you'll note that it's myfirebird.feap, so it creates the database. Once again, we enable it using the configuration manager so that it's enabled as a ProCloud server database. Then I can open up that cloud connection. I can provide the name, protocol, server, port number, and model name. Click OK, and I can connect to my database. So what we've done here in Enterprise Architect 16 is we support 64-bit technology. We also have streamlined the native connection dialog to make it much easier to connect to a repository. We've also introduced some features to make it really easy to work with QEA files in Enterprise Architect 16. We've discussed some of the benefits of using 64-bit repository. We talked about how EAP and EAPX files were designed back in 1992, so there's lots of advantages as far as speed and scalability, the size of your database, and the size of the simulations that are all supported by moving to the new QEA file format, not to mention support for 64-bit. We discussed the conversion process and how easy it is by simply selecting the settings menu and going down to transfer. We looked at how replication works, and we looked at the new native connection dialog and how easy that is as well. So while this is a webinar that talks about technology rather than features, lots of customers have for a long time been asking for a 64-bit version of Enterprise Architect because it helps work within their operating systems, and they have 64-bit data and they want to be able to expand and have larger databases. So we've certainly responded to those requests from customers. So many of you will be walking away from this webinar thinking what's fantastic is that Enterprise Architect now supports the 64-bit version. So for many of our customers, that will mean larger databases, larger reports, larger simulations, faster, more efficient access to data, and something that will help future-proof your models so that as the enterprise moves forward in the future, you'll be able to move forward with confidence that Enterprise Architect supports 64-bit. So I will pause that now, and I'll see if there's some questions. So it says, what happens to EA files when EA is used on a Mac or Linux system? And one of the reasons why we have set up the native connection dialog box is because I know at Sparks there are many people, including myself, that use Linux systems, and a lot of those older Microsoft databases require lots of configuration of ODBC drivers and databases, and it can sometimes make life more difficult than it needs to be. So the new native connections makes that much simpler, much easier, and really helps with that process. So it actually makes it easier to connect to databases in Linux and on Apple systems using some of these techniques and features. There's a question from Patrick that says, can 15.2 and 16 be installed on the same desktop sharing the same license? Like, it can be done by renaming the package name, and we do have some customers that do that. However, we recommend that people move towards Enterprise Architect 16 because it does offer a number of different advantages. And so I know some people in the support team talk about how you can rename the folder once you've installed it and then install EA16 so that you can do some testing. And you know, many organizations do that, especially during you know, the beta release of Enterprise Architect 16, so that they can look at the new features and try them out and test them. So we would encourage you to download the release candidate and have a look at it. So the short answer is yes, you can install them side by side, but you know, we would probably encourage people to move to EA16. Just having a look, there's some questions here about will the webinar be made available? So it will be made available on the Spark Systems YouTube site, usually within 24 hours. So when I get into work tomorrow morning, I'll try to publish it as quickly as possible, and I'll let everybody know that's attended the session or registered today that it's available. And usually we'll answer the Q&A questions and have the video listed on the Spark Systems website along with the Q&A, usually within a week. And sometimes there's questions that I like to send to the dev team to get answers and to get responses. So it takes a little longer, but we try to make the video available on YouTube as quickly as we possibly can, so people can share it. And look, hopefully, you know, some people turned up to the webinar and you know, are excited to learn that there's a 64-bit version of Enterprise Architect available. And for many of our corporate customers, this will be great news, and they'll want to get Enterprise Architect 16 as soon as possible so that they can try to leverage some of those benefits that I talked about in the webinar. So I'll just have a look at another couple of questions. So there's some questions just about conversion, and I will probably refer to the support team and get some more information and some more specifics about some of the queries. And there's some talking about small work groups. What do I mean by small work groups? So if you have, you know, 10 or 20 people all working on an Enterprise Architect project and they want to communicate. So you would use a QEAX file, and that would allow you to enable chat and communication. You can send messages. You could share diagrams and do some of those things as well. So I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance today. Thank you for your questions. There are a few questions there that I will respond to offline and get support to provide some detailed descriptions. So thank you very much for joining me and learning about how we work with QEA files in Enterprise Architect 16. Really appreciate your time, and hope that you got something out of it and learned a little bit about replication, the new native connections, QEA files, how to do conversions, and why we're using them. And look forward to seeing you in future, where we'll be presenting a number of new webinars covering all sorts of Enterprise Architect 16 topics, covering collaboration, changes to dialogues, changes to ribbons, the start page, new features, new technologies, looking at some of the new code features, and much, much more. So thank you very much for taking the time to attend today. Look after one another and have a great week. Thanks very much.